13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. Written by Amy Morin. Summarized by goldreaders.com. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Introduction. Did you know that even experts can face tough times? In 2013, a trained helper named Amy Morin was going through a really hard time. She had lost loved ones and was feeling very low. But instead of giving up, she did something amazing. Amy wrote a special letter to herself. In that letter, she listed 13 things that mentally strong people avoid doing. She shared it on the internet, and it became really popular. So popular, in fact, that she turned it into a book that people all around the world loved. In this book, you'll find 13 stories about real people who had bad habits and how they changed them for the better. It's like having your own toolbox to handle tough times in life. Are you ready to start? You'll also learn about taking smart risks, how working together is better than competing, and why earning things is more rewarding than just thinking you deserve them. Get ready for an exciting journey. Chapter 1. Gratitude over self-pity. Mentally strong individuals choose gratitude over self-pity. Let's imagine a situation where Amy Morin witnessed a small accident between two cars in a supermarket parking lot. Interestingly, the two drivers had contrasting reactions. The first driver seemed relieved and grateful that nobody was seriously injured. They saw it as fortunate and miraculous that the accident wasn't more severe. On the other hand, the second driver felt unlucky and complained about the situation, expressing self-pity and frustration, wondering why these things always happen to them. Now, why is this important? The second driver's response exemplifies a behavior that mentally strong people avoid: self-pity. When someone indulges in self-pity, they dwell on their misfortune, constantly complaining and believing that their problems are worse than others. They view life as unfair and tend to focus on everything that goes wrong. However, self-pity is not only unproductive, but it's also harmful. It wastes your time and trains your mind to fixate on the negatives, leading to increased misery and a continuous cycle of negativity. In the process, you miss out on recognizing the positive experiences and moments of good luck that come your way. So, how can you break free from self-pity? The most effective remedy is gratitude. If you find yourself trapped in a mindset of, "bad things always happen to me," take a pause. Sit down and make a list of the good things that have occurred in your life. Consider maintaining a gratitude journal as a regular practice. Simply jot down at least one thing you are grateful for each day. It also helps to verbally express your gratitude to the people around you, sharing what life has blessed you with. Over time, you may notice a shift in your mindset, resembling that of the first driver. Instead of complaining about a minor accident, you'll genuinely feel thankful that the situation wasn't worse. This shift brings you closer to developing the mental strength associated with gratitude and positivity. Chapter 2. Personal Power. Mentally strong individuals maintain their personal power and practice forgiveness towards others. Let's meet a woman named Morin, who is a caring mother of two. Although her family life appeared nearly perfect, there was one significant issue: her mother-in-law. Morin found her to be overbearing, often showing up unannounced and consistently criticizing her parenting style. Additionally, hurtful comments about her weight were not uncommon. While Morin maintained a polite smile on the outside, internally, she was seething with frustration. Not only did her mother-in-law intrude on precious family time, But Lauren also found herself constantly dwelling on and complaining about her for several hours each week. Clearly, something needed to change. This leads us to the second behavior that mentally strong people avoid. They refuse to let others have power over them. For Lauren, this was the crux of her problem. Due to her fear of speaking up, she allowed her mother-in-law to control her emotions and actions. There are various ways in which this behavior can manifest. If you are susceptible to criticism from others, easily provoked by their actions, or guilted into doing things you don't want to do, it indicates that you are granting them power over you. So, how can you reclaim control over your life? Let's revisit Lauren's situation. After realizing how much time and energy she spent complaining about her mother-in-law, she sat down with her husband to address the issue. They made a collective decision to establish respectful but firm boundaries. They had an open conversation with her, expressing that instead of unexpected visits, they would prefer regular dinner invitations. They also requested that she cease criticizing Lauren's parenting choices. Initially, it was challenging for her mother-in-law to adapt, but with time, she managed to respect their boundaries. As a result, Lauren regained control over her family's home and her own life. Mentally strong people recognize the importance of holding on to their personal power and not allowing others to dictate their emotions and actions. They find ways to establish healthy boundaries and address conflicts with assertiveness and respect. Additionally, practicing forgiveness can also contribute to maintaining inner strength and fostering healthier relationships. Chapter 3. Embrace change. Mentally strong individuals are always open to embracing change. Let's take the example of Richard, who faced frustration after being diagnosed with diabetes and being told he was 75 pounds overweight. He realized the need for change, but found it challenging to follow through. Despite removing junk food from his shelves, signing up for the gym, and making a commitment to healthier habits, he ended up snacking and not losing any weight. The truth is, making changes can be difficult. Without mental strength, it's easy to avoid change altogether. However, this avoidance comes at a cost, as you may feel stuck while others around you are growing and progressing. So, how do mentally strong people approach change? The first crucial step is to avoid overwhelming yourself with too many changes all at once. Richard's mistake was attempting radical and unrealistic changes, setting himself up for failure. Instead, try these 2 tips. First, break down your ambitions into smaller and more achievable goals. Replace the idea of instant and drastic change with incremental progress. Richard learned this lesson and shifted his focus to losing 5 pounds as a starting point, rather than aiming for the entire 75 pounds at once. Second, create a plan. This involves crafting specific action steps that are easy to follow. For instance, Richard started a food journal to track his eating habits and began preparing his own lunches instead of eating out. He also planned 3 gym visits per week and committed to taking short walks with his family after dinner on the other days. By understanding how mentally strong people handle change, we see that they avoid the intimidating all-or-nothing approach. Instead, they set smaller, more realistic goals and establish concrete actions that can be accomplished daily. This makes change less daunting and eliminates the option of shying away from it. Chapter 4. Focus on what you can control. Mentally resilient individuals remain undistracted by factors beyond their control. Let's take a look at James as an example. He desired to spend a special day whale watching with his daughter, which had become a rare and cherished event due to the limitations imposed by his divorce. However, when he discovered that his ex-wife had taken their daughter on a whale-watching trip just the week before, possibly to spoil their plans, James became infuriated. Instead of savoring this precious time with his daughter, he chose to send angry messages to his ex-wife, ultimately ruining the afternoon. What we observe here is James becoming unnecessarily upset about something he had no control over. Similar to many people, James prefers to have complete control over every situation, including dictating what others should or should not do. Unfortunately, this only exacerbated the situation, ruining their already scarce quality time together. In contrast, mentally strong individuals develop a balanced understanding of control. They possess a clear understanding of what lies within their realm of influence, and what does not, allowing them to allocate their time and energy more wisely. The initial step is to acknowledge that certain things cannot be changed. For instance, you cannot compel your child to be a top-notch student, force people to follow your advice, or control factors such as illnesses or the weather. Once you accept the existence of these uncontrollable elements, you can shift your focus to what you can influence, and make the most of the circumstances at hand. Now let's return to James. Gradually, he realized that he could not change his ex-wife's behavior, nor exert control over how she spent time with their daughter. However, he did have the power to maximize the time he had with his daughter. Instead of complaining or engaging in custody battles, he learned to be more present and appreciate every moment spent with his daughter. Chapter 5. Pleasing others doesn't always work. Constantly striving to please others is ineffective, and being willing to occasionally disappoint others strengthens you. Now, let's meet Megan. Megan faced a relatable issue. She felt constantly stressed. Requests came pouring in from various sources. Church members asked her to quickly bake muffins for Sunday service, her sister needed her as a babysitter, and her cousin always approached her with last-minute favors. It became evident that Megan's stress stemmed from her difficulty in saying no, or in simpler terms, her inclination to please others. Being kind is admirable, but it becomes problematic when taken to an extreme. Firstly, individuals who are excessively kind can be easily taken advantage of. Due to their aversion to disagreement, they would rather say yes than risk conflict. Not only are they constantly preoccupied with others' opinions of them, but they also go to great lengths to alter their behavior in order to appear more likable, often at the expense of their own desires and wishes. The issues with this type of behavior are not hard to comprehend. By always prioritizing others' needs, you neglect your own. This not only leads to extreme stress but also damages your relationships. This is precisely what happened to Megan. By always saying yes to her cousin's immediate requests, she became frustrated and displayed irritability towards her own family. Sometimes she even missed dinner or couldn't tend to her children's bedtime routine. So, if you identify yourself as someone who is excessively agreeable, what can you do? Here are 2 suggestions. The first tip is to remember one crucial thing. It is not your responsibility to ensure everyone's constant happiness. It is acceptable if someone feels angry or upset. It is not the end of the world. They are adults who have learned to manage negative emotions, just as you have. The second tip is more practical. When someone asks you for a favor, take some time before giving a definitive answer. This is precisely what the author advised Megan. Whenever someone made a request, she felt pressured and automatically said yes, even when she didn't want to. Morin provided her with a response strategy, a script she could easily employ in such situations. For instance, when someone asked her for a favor, she would say something like this: "Thank you for asking. Let me check my schedule, and I'll get back to you shortly." By doing so, she bought herself some time, making it easier for her to utter that small yet powerful two-letter word, no. Chapter 6. Take calculated risks. Mentally resilient individuals do not shy away from taking well-thought-out risks. When Dale shared his long-held dream of opening his own furniture store with his wife, he faced a fair amount of skepticism. He was considered a dreamer, and he couldn't help but agree. Why should he abandon his stable job as a high school teacher for a risky venture like that? So he continued working in his familiar position. However, the more he suppressed his true ambition, the more frustrated he became. Even worse, he felt defeated and depressed, finding himself caught in a dilemma. What course of action should he take? Let's delve deeper into this and observe how mentally strong individuals approach risks. Like Dale, most people naturally have an aversion to taking risks. They fear making certain choices and often dwell on worst-case scenarios in their minds. But instead of fulfilling their desires, they find themselves sitting on the couch, pondering what life could have offered if only they had dared to pursue options X and Y. So, what sets mentally strong people apart? Here's the answer: they take calculated risks. They follow a two-step process. Firstly, they gain a comprehensive and realistic understanding of the potential dangers and benefits involved. They ask themselves, what is the worst possible outcome? Additionally, what is the best possible outcome? Secondly, they find a way to appropriately mitigate the risks involved. Many people approach life decisions with an all-or-nothing mindset. They exclaim, "Either I become a famous rock star, or I'll be a failure forever." However, avoiding such exaggerated dramatics is crucial. There is a middle ground. And that's precisely what Dale did. He realized that it wasn't an either-or decision. He could maintain the security of his day job while simultaneously experiencing the excitement of running his own business. All he needed to do was start his furniture shop on a part-time basis, working in the evenings and on weekends. Instead of investing in a physical store, he could sell his creations online. If there was enough demand, he could consider opening a storefront later on. His mood instantly improved. After all, he did what mentally strong individuals naturally do: he took a calculated risk. Chapter 7. Make peace with your past. Gaining strength through reconciling with the past requires taking tangible actions. Gloria faced significant challenges in her relationship with her 28-year-old daughter. She realized that her daughter was trapped in a destructive cycle of behaviors, such as frequently changing partners, being unable to hold a job, and moving back in with her. Despite recognizing this, Gloria unintentionally encouraged her daughter's actions due to her guilt and shame over not being there for her in the past. Her attachment to the past hindered her ability to move forward. Gloria's story teaches us an important lesson. If you want to enhance your mental strength, it is crucial to let go of dwelling on the past. This tendency can manifest in various ways, such as repeatedly replaying certain memories, contemplating how life would have been different if different choices were made, or assuming that reuniting with an ex-partner will solve all problems. While some degree of reflection on the past is healthy, excessive fixation on it can be harmful. To overcome this, the key is to come to terms with the past and then progress forward. The initial step is acceptance, understanding that no matter what you do, you cannot change what has already occurred. This may involve forgiving those who have caused you pain. The second step is to move forward actively. Redirect your thoughts towards new experiences and do so intentionally. Whenever you notice your thoughts drifting back to past events, consciously replace them, for instance, by making plans for your next vacation or setting new goals for the future. By habitually focusing on the future, it becomes increasingly challenging for your mind to dwell on the past, ultimately helping you break free from that cycle. While we have primarily discussed habits, it's essential to recognize that habits can take various forms. Consider Gloria's situation. Her challenge was rooted in her thinking patterns, as her thoughts were excessively fixated on the past. In contrast, Richard, mentioned earlier, struggled with habitual behavior when he mindlessly snacked while trying to lose weight. Additionally, James, who became upset when his ex-wife took their daughter on a whale-watching trip before he did, demonstrated habitual emotional reactions. The key takeaway is that developing mental strength necessitates acknowledging and addressing these three levels: thoughts, behavior, and emotions. Some negative habits may originate at one level but can extend to the others. However, improving one level can positively impact the other two, as they are interconnected. Chapter 8. Avoid repeating mistakes. Mentally resilient individuals avoid making the same errors repeatedly, and accomplishing this necessitates exercising self-control. Let's journey back in time to a small town in mid-19th century Massachusetts. We find ourselves with a businessman named Roland Macy, who recently opened a dry goods store but made a significant and unfortunate mistake. The location he selected was excessively quiet, resulting in a struggle to attract customers. To generate interest in his new store, Macy organized a grand parade that would conclude at his shop. Regrettably, on the day of the parade, the scorching heat dissuaded everyone from attending. This setback led Macy to accumulate a substantial amount of debt, forcing him to close his business. However, Macy learned from this experience and made a vow to avoid repeating the same mistake. When he subsequently established another store called Macy Dry Goods, he wisely chose a prime location in downtown New York, which proved to be immensely successful. The rest is history. Macy's evolved into one of the world's largest chain stores and continues to hold a parade annually, but in the fall season to avoid the heat. What Roland Macy demonstrated here is another characteristic of mentally strong individuals. They analyze and derive lessons from their mistakes to prevent future repetitions. To learn from your mistakes when something goes awry, you can take a moment to ask yourself the following questions: what did I do incorrectly? How could I have performed better? And what can I do differently next time? Of course, recognizing what needs to be done differently and actually implementing it are not identical. That's why, if you truly want to eradicate harmful habits once and for all, you must cultivate self-discipline. Here are 3 simple strategies to enhance your discipline. First, keep your focus on your objective. By envisioning the immense satisfaction you will experience upon achieving it, such as the gratification of completing your novel, you will find it easier to resist the temptation of lounging in front of the TV and instead sit down to write. Second, compile a list of past mistakes you are determined not to repeat. Keep this list with you at all times, and whenever you sense that you are on the verge of making a familiar error, take it out and remind yourself of its contents. And third, create obstacles that make repeating mistakes more difficult. For instance, suppose your aim is to save money for a dream trip, but you consistently overspend when socializing with friends. Before leaving home for an outing, withdraw a limited amount of cash and leave your credit card behind. This way, you reduce the likelihood of indulging in a spending spree. Chapter 9. Don't envy or resent the progress of others. If you've ever felt grumpy while scrolling through your peers' seemingly perfect lives on social media, this information might resonate with you. In 2013, researchers conducted a study titled Envy on Facebook, a Hidden Threat to Users' Life Satisfaction, which revealed that people can become significantly disheartened upon seeing others' success and happiness. Particularly, viewing vacation photos of your peers can be detrimental, and even an abundance of birthday wishes can trigger anger. If this situation sounds familiar, then what you're experiencing is called resentment, and mentally strong individuals avoid falling into this trap. When you perceive others as being more successful than you, it's natural to feel envious of their good fortune. Outwardly, you may maintain a polite smile, but deep down, when your neighbor proudly displays his brand new Tesla, you might secretly harbor disdain. Your mood, which was once uplifted at the garden party, is now ruined. Often, people's resentments stem from their own insecurities. It becomes easier to resent the achievements of others when you're unsure of what you truly desire for yourself. Let's say you have a friend who constantly travels the world for important business trips, and your immediate thought is, I wish I could have that kind of lifestyle. But do you really? Didn't you previously wish for more quality time with your family? So, what is it that you truly want? A jet-setting life or more family time? So, what can you do? First and foremost, you need to gain clarity about what success and accomplishment mean to you. If your New Year's resolution is to bike to work more often, you won't find it challenging to despise your neighbor's new car since you never desired a car in the first place. Problem solved. Another way to overcome feelings of resentment is by adopting a different attitude. Life should not be viewed as a rat race where you are constantly striving to outperform everyone around you. Instead of competing, consider the possibilities of collaboration. Yes, you might harbor secret anger towards your brother's financial success, but why not approach him for advice and learn from his experiences? It's difficult to resent someone who is willing to assist you, isn't it? Chapter 10. Never give up after failed attempts. People who are mentally strong have a strong determination and do not easily give up. Additionally, they show self-compassion when faced with failure. Thomas Edison, who is now widely known for inventing the light bulb, also had failures in his journey. He created inventions like the electric pen and the so-called ghost machine, both of which were unsuccessful. From our perspective, these were considered failures. However, Edison saw them as opportunities to learn and experiment with what worked and what didn't. He believed that each failure brought him closer to success. However, this perspective on failure is not common. When faced with dropping out of college or losing an important client, most people don't react with the thought of it being a learning opportunity. Instead, they often feel a sense of shame and try to avoid such experiences. Consequently, some individuals develop a habit of giving up at the slightest hint of difficulty. Giving up is not an option if you want to develop mental strength. So, how can you deal with failure? Here are 2 tips. First, let go of unhealthy beliefs about success and failure. It's easy to make excuses and believe that you lack talent when faced with obstacles. However, scientific evidence suggests that regular practice is more important than natural talent. If you invest enough time and effort, you are likely to surpass those who don't. The same applies to intelligence. While being smart may give you an advantage, perseverance has proven to be more crucial for long-term achievement. Second, practicing self-compassion can be essential when facing challenging times. Often, we are our own harshest critics. However, being too hard on yourself can lead to resignation and a false belief that you are not good enough. Instead, try treating yourself with the same compassion you would offer a friend. Nobody is perfect, including yourself. Be understanding of your weaknesses. This approach will help you develop a realistic perspective on what is achievable. Chapter 11. Learn Art of Meditation. Now let's return to Morin's counseling office, where we find Vanessa facing a unique predicament. Despite feeling exhausted from her hectic workdays, she struggles to fall asleep. It seems that she is unable to quiet her mind as thoughts continue to race through her head, dwelling on the events of the day or worrying about future tasks. Throughout the day, Vanessa, a highly successful real estate agent, is always busy and constantly engaged. Morin asks her how often she takes time for herself, simply sitting alone and allowing her thoughts some space. Vanessa's response is, "Never, why should I?" Spending time alone and unwinding is not a top priority for most people. Some consider it unproductive, while others find it genuinely intimidating. They feel uneasy in moments of silence and solitude, filling their schedules with social events. Even when they are alone, they often resort to using their phones or having the television as background noise in their homes. However, mentally strong individuals recognize that they are missing out on something important. It is worth noting that excessive solitude, especially when accompanied by feelings of loneliness, can have negative effects. Nevertheless, studies demonstrate that developing the ability to be alone correlates with improved mental well-being, life satisfaction, and better stress management. Importantly, spending time by oneself helps in recharging one's energy reserves. So, how can one become more comfortable with solitude and their own thoughts? It is easy to dismiss alone time as insignificant and expendable. To truly prioritize time for oneself, it is essential to schedule dedicated moments with no one else but yourself. Block out this time on your calendar and inform your family and friends that you will not be available during that period. Once you have allocated your alone time, engage in activities that you genuinely enjoy doing by yourself. However, be aware that watching television, using social media, or endlessly scrolling through cat videos on YouTube do not qualify. Instead, give your thoughts and the desire for self-reflection the space they deserve. For instance, you could start journaling. Additionally, practicing meditation and mindfulness are well-known methods for quieting the mind and finding inner peace. By the way, this is precisely what Vanessa did as well. She established a habit of dedicating some time in the evening for meditation and mindfulness practices. As a result, her racing thoughts significantly slowed down. Before she knew it, she was peacefully asleep in bed, sleeping like a baby. Chapter 12. Nobody owes you anything. Lucas was not well liked among his colleagues, despite being a recent college graduate and just starting his career. He behaved arrogantly, constantly telling his more experienced coworkers how he would handle things. He considered himself an exceptionally valuable employee deserving of a promotion to a leadership position. However, instead of promoting him, Lucas's boss advised him to be more modest as his coworkers were irritated by his bossy behavior. They perceived him as acting entitled. Although this may seem unrelated, we all have a small part of Lucas within us. To some extent, we all tend to believe that the world owes us something. Here's the issue: the more you believe you deserve something, the less likely you are to actually earn it. If you think the world owes you, you will demand it rather than putting in the necessary effort. Additionally, Having unrealistic expectations about what you deserve is a major turnoff for those around you. If we sense that someone is primarily focused on taking without giving, we will likely avoid that person. So, how can you overcome your sense of entitlement? First and foremost, you need to become aware of it. Feeling that the world owes you doesn't mean you are behaving like royalty. Most of us display more subtle forms of entitlement. It primarily manifests in our thought patterns. If you believe you are exceptional, think certain laws don't apply to you because they are stupid, or simply have the mindset of, "Life isn't fair, I deserve better than this." These are indications of an entitled attitude. Instead, let's try embracing humility. To start, let's acknowledge that you have weaknesses too. Yes, it may be difficult to accept, but it's true, you are not perfect. Like everyone else, you have flaws, insecurities, and qualities that make you less than perfect, and that's perfectly okay. Furthermore, let's approach critical feedback with more humility. Since we are not perfect, the other person likely has a valid point. We may not agree entirely, but dismissing them as stupid is not helpful either. That's what Lucas managed to do as well. He recognized the negative impression he had left on his coworkers and made a commitment to change. He stopped assuming he knew everything and became more open to learning from those around him. With this attitude, who knows, he may eventually earn the promotion he desires. Chapter 13. Be patient with change. If there was one weakness that Marcy possessed, it was her well-known impatience. Whenever her children or coworkers couldn't keep up with her pace, she would exclaim, "I'm not getting any younger." She delved into numerous self-help books, only to be disappointed when they didn't miraculously transform her life overnight. She gave up on therapy after just a few sessions because she didn't see the instant results she desired. What she desperately sought was a shortcut, a magical solution to eliminate her dissatisfaction with life. Unfortunately, as mentally strong individuals are aware, such a remedy doesn't exist. In a world of 24-hour deliveries, on-demand streaming, and fast food, most people have grown accustomed to receiving what they want as quickly as possible. However, if instant gratification becomes the overall expectation, problems are bound to arise in one's life. The harsh reality is that change is difficult, and progress isn't always immediately evident. The question is how one handles this situation. If you are like Marcy, you might become easily discouraged and abandon your efforts prematurely. Consequently, you will never experience the unique benefits that only accompany long-term dedication. Certain things, such as education, significant career advancements, or artistic breakthroughs, only materialize after years of arduous, unrewarding work and perseverance. The initial step towards embracing the long haul is to establish realistic expectations. If you anticipate quick and effortless success, you are setting yourself up for disappointment and frustration. Additionally, be cautious of fixed and inflexible deadlines for your goals. While it's beneficial to have a rough idea of when you would like to accomplish them, turning it into an all-or-nothing situation can backfire. Practice perseverance. Make an effort to abstain from instant gratification more frequently, such as saying no to that cookie or resisting the urge to indulge in online shopping. However, regardless of how disciplined you are, you will also need moments of accomplishment. Therefore, try creating them for yourself. Break down your major goal into smaller short-term objectives, and once you achieve them, celebrate your progress. By accomplishing milestone after milestone, you will gain renewed energy for the overall journey.